Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with A Look Beyond the Continent. My name is Emil, and together with my co host Ezra's today, we have a really special guest. He is on Team Legacy with us. We have Iluxa, who is also known as BigKukuRuzina, who we know was a finalist in the latest Gwent World Masters, placing as runner-up. So we're super excited to chat to him today. We're going to pick his brain on seeing what it takes to play Gwent at a really high level, but also his thoughts on the game. So without further ado, welcome to A Look Beyond the Continent. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, guys.
All right, so hey man, so let's talk about what did it feel like to be like in the Masters, again? Like was there more pressure this time?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely more complicated to prepare for Masters than for the Open because it's another level of gameplay.
Yeah.
It's high pressure, a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like 5. What was the prize pool?
I think the prize pool for this year altogether, and I could be wrong on this one, but I think it was over 70,000 USD.
Yeah.
I don't recall what the winner went home with.
First place went home with
I think it was over 10.
First place.
It was
I think
over.
first place went home with like 43,000.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah, that's like more than half of the prize pool.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did runner-up get, if we don't mind sharing?
I got almost 10K.
Okay,
Yeah.
US dollars, nice. I mean, there's a big jump, between what first place gets and then runner-up, but I guess that's how they distributed the money. But yeah, let's talk about the World Masters. Me personally, this is probably the first World Masters I've actually watched properly. And so obviously being on Team Legacy, we had our watch party and obviously we were rooting for you, from the quarterfinals all up until the finals. So I unfortunately didn't get to watch the quarterfinal with cams because it was very early morning for me in Australia. So I did watch the VOD, and to be honest, I was completely blown away by the 1 point. Just can you talk us through how you felt playing that game? Because I mean, like your alumni, didn't have zeal in round 3, right? He kept answering them in round 1. And he moved your students so your students couldn't even play to their full value. But with patience, obviously we know even if they move to the other row, they're still ticking away and adding value. So did you talk us through it? Did you know that it was going to get you across the line by 1 point, or were you just hoping I'm going to click everything and hope to I'm going to win this game? What was it like?
Yeah, I didn't know that I'm
yeah, I thought so.
I feel like anytime we see like you guys make these crazy plays and you only win by like 1 or 2 points, it almost looks like, yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. But then I wonder, like, did it surprise them? Like, did they never really show it? Like, okay, I actually won that round.
When I was preparing for this match, I was losing very hard pretty much every time.
Right.
I had a score like 3-15, maybe. So 3 wins, 15 losses. And
okay.
I knew that I need to win this matchup. And it happened because he didn't draw his hit wave and misplayed a couple of times. So
yeah, from what I heard, you guys like practice a lot against each other, right? Like behind the scenes. Yeah.
I was prepping with Danirai mostly and Andy.
Yeah, and you were just using their deck list pretty much, right? Like
who's the
you got their deck list, so that way you
Yeah.
could like play
We
against them.
got them one day before.
One day
Masters.
before.
Yeah.
So one day before the tournament, are you guys just playing for the whole 24 hours? Like what does it look like one day before when you from the time you get the open deck list up until you play your game? What does it actually look like? How do you prepare for the games?
I think I spent like 5 hours for camps decks.
Just for camps
just-
decks, 5 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So we just tested all the matchups,
Mhm.
all the coins, all the lines we could test, and that's it. Then I just to sleep.
I get tired of playing Gwent just for like an hour or two, and you're doing 5 hours just on one person.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's quite hard actually.
Yeah,
I don't
but
play that much when I'm playing ladder. I play like
okay.
1 or 2 hours, then a small break, like an hour or two, and then I just continue.
Yeah, because I remember, I think at one point, Telbot was saying like he hadn't played in like several seasons because he had already secured a spot in Masters. Like he didn't even care about ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make
I
sense.
think he didn't even care about Masters, it seems,
Yeah.
because he wasn't prepping much.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. So that would make sense. I could see the level of preparation that went into the games because I would assume like to be a really good player, it's what you would do exactly what you just said. You would practice the decks inside out, red coin, blue coin, different lines of play. What if this player did this? What if this player didn't draw this card? Or what if they did draw heat? Like, what would happen if they did actually draw heat wave? There would have been a big difference in the score, right? At the same time, though, in round 3, you didn't draw Gerhardt either, which is it's a pretty big card to miss. I would be, a bit livid that I didn't. I mean, if I were you thinking in round 3, I'm like thinking, okay, my alumni don't have zeal. I have to somehow get my students to survive because he'd been killing off, you were trying to save like the second one to try and get the zeal or at least get some value for the alumni. Because if the alumni didn't have any value, if they were only like 2 or 3 points, because at the end, you got the Arethusa student to a 10. And I think that's what, by the time you clicked everything, in that last play, it was like we were just all on the edge of our seat and being like, wow, is this gonna, and then you had 1 leader charge left, so that was the 1 point. So it was absolutely amazing to watch, and the same with the semifinals and the finals. But for me, that game particularly stuck out because I was like, because you were down by so many points, and I think if you're playing, you're going to be roping as hell, like trying to calculate if you have enough points. So yeah, for me, that stuck out a lot. But let's just rewind a little bit. We're talking about the Master Series, but I want to go back a little bit. And I'm sure a lot of people in the Gwent community want to know this, but I would love to know how did you get into Gwent? Is it, was it from The Witcher, the game, or was it from the books? How did you initially get into Gwent?
Yeah, I came from The Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing The Witcher 3 a lot, and I really enjoyed Gwent. So when I finished it, I started a search for another Witcher-related games, Witcher universe-related games, and I found Gwent by accident. I never played any card games before,
You
so
haven't?
it was my
Okay.
first card game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked how the cards look like in this Gwent.
Yes.
They were much better than
And Witcher 3.
than in The Witcher 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I played The Witcher 3, I think when I discovered Gwent, I didn't understand it at first, and I was like, how do you play this game? And then I kept trying it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how you play it. And I think I just literally stopped playing The Witcher 3 story for like 2 months and just played Gwent. Every day I would just like play 4 or 5 hours of Gwent every day.
My story with Gwen is pretty similar to yours, Aluha. I only started playing Gwen properly this year in 2021. But I played Witcher 3 for the first time last year, and I didn't actually play Gwen. I was like, I don't want to play this game. Like, this seems kind of stupid. But then in my second playthrough, I was like, oh, I'll just give it a go. And then anyway, I was the same as you. I accidentally must have come across it. I was like, oh, there's a standalone game outside of like The Witcher 3, and it was Gwent by itself. And when I actually looked into it, I realized I was like, what is esports? There's actually competitions for this game, and it blew my mind as to how big this game. Like, I thought it was just like some little mini game in the game, right? Like, I didn't actually think, wow, there's a whole game outside of that. So, I mean, you started playing Gwent, right? So we're not talking about me, we're talking about you today, but you started playing Gwent, and what made you want to compete at a high level? Because, you know, Gwent, some people just play it casually, like they just play it for fun. They'll play like 2 games and then they won't touch it for the rest of the month. But what motivated you to actually compete?
After playing 1 or 2 years, I started to show some good results on ladder in uncompetitive season. I finished 8th, I think, in the last uncompetitive season before the season 2 of Masters.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought like maybe I have some chances on pro scene because I was showing some good results against some top players like Alessio, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He left the game already, but he was a very very good player.
Mm-hmm.
He finished first like 3 seasons in a row on ladder. So yeah, that's why I decided to compete.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in the Masters, how, like, in what series did you feel like, okay, I'm like not prepared enough? You know, which one
Uh,
against Cams, Akela, or Cybers?
could you repeat?
So, in the Masters, like, what series did you feel like you weren't like prepared enough for? Like
Ah,
against Cams, Akela, or Cybers?
uh, probably against Cybers because we had like 1 hour before our game. So I played like 2 games, I think, against his decks.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
obviously I didn't test all the matchups, and his decks were not really standard, so
Yeah.
it was kind of hard. And also I was very tired and sleepy by the time, so it was very hard.
It's funny
Series.
when you play Gwent tired, right? Like you don't think it would affect your performance, but when you're actually sleepy and tired, it really affects how you play Gwent, because you got to be really sharp, and you know you got to do the maths real quick. And if you're, you know, you're not fresh, it really makes a difference. But you know, it's like any kind of sport, I guess. Like if you're not feeling fresh, if you're feeling a bit fatigued,
Yeah.
it definitely affects your performance. But just going back to, you know, you made an interesting point how you said, oh, I only had 1 hour to prepare against my match against Cybers. Because you obviously said before, you know, when you got everyone's open deck lists, you kind of only have time, like you have 24 hours, but you only kind of have time to prepare against you know the opponent that you know you're going to face, because you know there's the semi-final and then there's the final, so you have an idea of like what your line would be, you know, to get to the final, like who you're potentially against. But that would involve, you know, preparing against so many different opponents and decks. So I guess that was interesting to hear that, you know, you only kind of have, you know, with the 24-hour time, you only, you know, I guess prepared for
There's,
the opponent that you knew.
yeah, there's only so much time in the day to prepare for everybody in a
Mm,
sense.
yeah. Um, but yeah, let's talk about like, you know, the competitive season. What does it look like for you? I guess a lot of people always would wonder, you know, for the guys that, you know, are grinding on the ladder and they're like, you know, top 10, top 64, whatever. a lot of players would want to know, you know, how many hours a day are you playing Gwent during the competitive season? Like, if you are trying to, you know, place, you know, what does a day look like for you? Because I know you mentioned to me before we got onto the show that, you know, you're playing Gwent, and you said to me that you quit university, right, to focus on Gwent full time. So yeah, what does a day look like?
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So what does it actually look like for you? What does your day look like?
So usually I wake up 1 p.m.
Okay, so this is early. No, we're 5 p.m. for you. Okay. 1 p.m. Yep.
Yeah, so I eat something, spend like 1 hour to prepare myself for playing, and I usually spend like maybe 4 hours at max play a day, with some small breaks. I don't really spam games because I just don't feel very comfortable when I just spam and don't think at all what I'm doing. I'm one of the most efficient players on ladder, I think.
How many
Because
games would you say that you play in a season
uh,
compared to your?
usually I would say it's like 400 or 500.
That's like my
Like this.
max if I really played a lot. I think I hit my limit like around like 200, 300 games every time. Like and
Mm, a lot of
once I get the pro, I just stop playing. I don't even like actually try to grind.
pro players play like 1,000 games.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because when you actually look at the ladder, there's a lot of four-figure digits in there. You know, 1,000, some crazy people 1,500, 2,000, and so yeah, if going by your maths, if you say that you spend around 4 hours a day in one season playing games and you reach around 500, you would have to double that for the people that are playing over 1,000. So it seems like they're playing 8 hours a day, I
Wasn't
guess.
wasn't there a time? I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but was it Red Rain and Mayamon or Wangan? I can't remember. They played like almost 3,000 games each, something like that one season.
No, I don't think. I think
I think it was Red Rain. I think Red Rain played like almost like 2,000 games, something like that. But he had
I'm
like
not
had almost
sure.
like he had like 1,000 losses too.
I
I don't
think
remember.
the most amount of games is like 2,100 or something like
Maybe.
this.
I don't know.
That's a lot of
I
games
remember
then.
There
somebody
was
had a lot
a
of games.
there was a Korean player called Novograd who played
Oh,
1,000
okay.
games, but it was uncompetitive season, and it was
Yeah.
long time ago. So I'm not sure.
Wait. Somebody played over 2,000 games in a non-competitive season. Why? They must
Yes.
really love the game. That's
They
insane.
let
He would not be
yeah,
sleeping.
a lot of escape inner games, you know, for his opponents to win trading.
Wow. Jeez,
Um, so like how do you prepare for a tournament? Like if you know you're gonna be in one, like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Mm, it's actually not that hard. You just need to think what are the best decks right now. Uh, are there any ways to counter them or maybe improve them to make them not
Is it
counter?
Yeah, I remember. I think I noticed like a lot of people were like, "Okay, I'm bringing alumni's because we knew alumni's were very good at the point, you know, during Masters." And it seemed like everybody was targeting alumni's and just ignoring everything else.
No, I don't think so. I think only Kamst tried to counter it and he didn't manage to.
True. Yeah.
That
Oh, well,
proves the power of this deck. So even if you counter it, you just lose sometimes.
yeah. Like it was either alumni's or it was Nilfgaard. You know, the assimilate list with you know that got nerfed. You know, at the start of this season. You know, with Brassens and Terra Nova going up and provisions. Like that's not as strong anymore. It still is very strong, but like it's not. You can't run all the cards that you could before.
Yeah, I think
hate this deck.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel the same way as you about Nilfgaard Assimilate, but yeah, I guess we did see camps, and it was quite obvious that he literally built a deck that was gonna tech against Northern Realms mages, right? Because I think that season, that's all we saw on the ladder. It was basically Northern Realms mages and Nilfgaard Assimilate. I think those were like the top two decks, and I think he just went,
Oh.
nope, I'm gonna tech against this. I'm gonna put Epidemic. I'm gonna put Angulem. So it was very like, and the thing is, Angulem can be kind of bricked because if your opponent doesn't play Mushy Trouble, well, you know what? Last season everyone was playing Mushy Trouble, so I think it was a given, or a chapter of Wizards. But I'm just saying, in a normal sense, like if you were playing ladder, Angulem could get bricked very easily. Like your opponent is not always going to have an artifact. Epidemic might just play it for like a small amount of points. So he obviously brought a deck that was going to counter Northern Realms. And so like you made that point that you just have to basically think, okay, what's good right now and how do we counter these good decks? But when you do those, is there like a system you do it? Do you have like, do you write it down pen and paper? Do you put it on Excel sheet? How do you
Actually, that.
you do? Yeah, how do you come up with your strategies?
I mean, I just mark good matchups and bad matchups and count what is the worst deck and what is the best deck. I just ban the best deck and prepare for the worst.
Remember that old saying: if he tells us his secrets, he'll have to kill us.
Yeah.
No.
He can give us a little tip, right? Just a little bit.
I was actually considering to take Angulem too.
Right.
But then I thought like it's not that good because people could put megascopes, SK, for example, and make
I
it
love
50-50.
putting those in there.
That's what I did, especially for Angulem. I had megascope in my deck, and also I had a Kelly without any artifacts. So
Yeah.
I was kind of prepared for this card.
Yeah, because then that would brick them because then he has the chance of getting the megascope. But yeah, like let's talk about the Kelly deck actually, because I think a lot of people were like, wow, Kelly has actually made it to Gwent World Masters, right? And especially with the Coldwell, because that was a deck that was floating around a couple of weeks before the World Masters. So why did you choose to bring the Kelly Coldwell deck? And why did you not include Dudu, actually? That's what I was wondering.
No,
I'm actually a big fan of this deck.
Yeah.
I was playing it a lot when it was actually good. I had a lot of experience with this deck, so I decided that it's a good choice. I actually think that it was the best force deck in the tournament.
Yeah, I was I was surprised because I didn't expect to see that deck. I don't think anyone else brought it, right? I think it was just you that brought it. Yeah.
It was only Masters deck.
But wow, it took you to the finals. So sometimes it's the decks that you think. I mean, it's not that I questioned that it wasn't good. It was more like I didn't think it was gonna make it into a World Masters, and then it did. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
I decided to skip Doodle because it's very clunky and conditional card. So why would I risk?
I noticed too that, like, you know how you were saying about Epidemic? I remember, I think it was against you, right? The Camps pulled it off and killed like was it a 9-point Banner or Artis Adept Girl? And I was just like, what? Like, everybody's gonna use Epidemic now. I was like, there's no way that it doesn't get used.
I mean, I personally haven't seen it on ladder. Have you guys seen
it?
No.
Like, I didn't see it on ladder. It was funny though, because like I made that comment, on the watch party, and I was just like, yep, everybody's gonna run it now, because like that's how you get through the defender. Just run Epidemic.
So yeah, I've never actually seen that card. So that card, if you play it, even though they play defender, it could just destroy the 4 provision unit, right?
Don't you need to target?
Yeah, so I think you do. I think you need to target it, right? I don't know how the card
But
works.
I'm not sure. I never played this card.
You played against it, but you're still not sure.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna look it up. I honestly had never played it before either, but when I saw you like boosted your R2's add up with tactical, and then like I saw Cam's play that card, I was like, wait a minute, that's a thing.
So when you I have a question for you because I kind of do this, but I wanted to see if you guys at the top do this. When it's an open deck list, do you have their deck list open whilst you're playing the game, and then you kind of go, okay, they've already played this card, this card, this card. This is what's left. So then, because the reason I asked that is because when you played that, and I still refer to that match because that match I just always remember for some reason, the mages one. When you were playing your mages towards the end, I think you knew he didn't have any more removal left. So you just like let them, stay on the board. Did you do that where you just kind of said, okay, I'm looking at the list now and he's played this and he doesn't have this left? Or do you just kind of memorize it?
I knew he doesn't have any answers yet. Or left.
Yeah.
He only had like Heatwave, but there was a situation on the board when he should have played it. So I thought that no way he had hand. He missed it. And I just stopped playing around.
Yeah.
I actually had all the decks opened on my second monitor.
Yeah, so you've got a second monitor where you have like all the decks open, right?
But it was the first tournament where when I had second monitor. Usually I just use my phone.
Oh, to look at the decks, yeah. Okay.
Oh wow!
Because I didn't have second monitor before I moved to this.
How does it feel to have the second monitor? It's so much better, right?
Yeah.
It helps a lot. I mean, because if you're on the phone, you're like having to swipe and see if they have it or not. But
it's life changing, I would assume, because like when you build your PC and you only have one monitor, you feel very limited in what you can do on it. So like when you get a second monitor or even a third monitor, it's completely different.
I mean, it feels like you're in some kind of spy movie once you have three. Like it looks like you're surveillance, right? Like a James Bond kind of movie.
Yeah, like I have a friend who they have 6 monitors.
Yeah, I feel like that's a spy movie by then.
Yeah, like I was just like, bro, why do you need this many monitors? And he's like, what? Like one for everything, But his computer's like worth like almost 10 grand.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, Iluxa can buy something like that now with his 10 grand prize money. Maybe we'll have 3 monitors for the next one. So let's talk about Gwent. Let's go back to Gwent again, obviously. But what do you feel about the game right now? Like, obviously, we just got 12 new cards. I feel like it's kind of, I would say just change the game, like even just with 12 cards, there's a little bit more variety. But how do you feel about the game right now? Is there anything you'd like to see change with Gwent and also with the tournaments? Like, do you like the open deck list or do you prefer closed deck list?
Yeah, definitely I like opened deck lists because it's more skill dependent when you know the cards of your opponent. And closed deck lists are the format with closed deck lists isn't very competitive, I think, because you just hope for your surprise value cards, like Igni or something, and hope your opponent doesn't play around it and you just win. So
imagine winning a Masters with Igni.
I didn't play much Gwent after Master. After patch I played like 2 decks, I think. Witchers,Nar, and Syndicate.
Wait,
but
was this
Witchers are dead already?
Was this when Radovid was kind of broken?
Yeah,
okay, with Lyrian Scytheman.
Yeah, I really like this Senna deck. I made 2782 MMR with it.
27?
Yeah, I remember.
1 year ago.
Wow.
It was
That's
He's
was the
insane.
famous for
first MMR.
he's famous for creating the Witcher deck. He's the one
Yeah.
that started it all.
Wow. Wait, what is the highest MMR you ever got? And which with that? Is it with Northern
This one
Realms?
faction?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was the 2780.
2782.
That is insane. And I like celebrate if I get over 2450.
I actually made it on stream.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, I follow
Yeah.
you on stream, so I need to like catch you more often when you're streaming. Maybe you'll get
That
to
was
2800.
that was the best part, knowing the fact that like, and this is before I joined Legacy personally, but I was like, I remember I made your Witcher deck before I knew who you were, and then like when I realized you were on the team, I was like, oh yeah, he made the Witcher deck. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like I got him as a teammate.
That's awesome. 27. I mean, that's no easy feat because, as you know, like you can win games and then lose some. So it can be that, struggle of, but it means that you would have, been winning been winning game after game. Could you guys
In the end, I
enlighten
was in the end I was getting like +3 OMMR and -13 or something.
me?
So it was kind of hard to climb.
What was this NR Witches deck? Is it similar to what we see in this patch?
Yeah.
Well, that busted
Basically,
rabbit did, yeah.
basically it had Geralt instead of Radovid, and that's it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was just more strong
Wow.
at that time.
Now I feel like I want to try
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, at the time, yeah, like there was no Radovid, and then also, I believe there was also,
Also, we didn't have Immortals. It's this
yeah,
shield.
I was gonna say
Shield
Immortals,
Wolf.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
had Berengar and Oils, I think.
yeah. It had Boiling Oil and Berengar, and then also,
Which has a shuffles, you know.
it was like it was a toss up. It was either between, Vanilla Geralt or
Yeah.
Unseus. It was either one of
Yrden.
those two,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
or
but
Yrden, yeah,
what
that's
is
it.
Vanilla
Yrden?
Geralt? Is Vanilla Geralt the Geralt that everyone plays in rank 30? With
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
the one
that's
that kills a unit overnight. Yeah, I just call him Vanilla Geralt because like it's
I mean, that's like a card you see, I think, up until
like
like rank
everywhere.
20, and then no one puts him anymore
Yep.
because they can get other cards.
He was good back at the time because Kelly was meta. Gift too.
Yep.
So
And,
it was fine in value every game.
and this
Hmm.
was like during the time when V was still, very,
Oh yeah,
very
yeah.
scary.
Hmm. I mean, I've still seen V floating around. But as I said, this patch, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but definitely there's a lot more variety. Like, you just don't know what you're gonna play against. I mean, the first week was kind of Milva, right? Everyone was like, oh, I'm gonna play Milva, and that's all we saw the first week. And maybe, NR Witches. But now, lately, it's just, I've seen a whole variety. Like, I've seen last season's deck, or a V, or Death Wish, just everything and it feels nice. Like, it feels kind of nice, not to play against the same 3 or 4 decks like last season. Yeah, how do you feel about the new patch? Are you liking how the patch is? What do you think about the future of Gwent, also seeing as they revealed the roadmap in 2022? How do you feel about the game in general?
I don't really like some cards like Mule because they support no unit archetypes,
Yeah,
and this is the most dumb archetype I've ever seen in the game.
you're not a
You
fan of
just
no unit.
yeah, sure.
Hmm.
You just spam bombs and spells, and then play Gord. So
Mm.
it's not very hard to pile,
Hmm.
and it's actually very annoying to play against.
It is very annoying.
Yeah. I don't really like that they made one less open.
Hmm.
Now it's 3 opens and 1 masters.
Hmm.
Also, they increased the prize pool by 20%.
They increased it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm,
I noticed because a lot of people were saying like, um, I think it was year one of Masters was like, I think when Coleman won, it was almost like 120 grand.
Yeah, that's a lot of. I do recall
Yeah.
reading about
And
that.
then like
That's
there was like
crazy.
there's been like big drops since then, like
Yeah.
70,000, 50,000. They're like, okay, like we know they have the money to, support the game. And most of the prize pool is funded by us as the community.
Yes.
And I don't know, like if we want Gwent to survive, I feel like the prize pools need to be bigger. Like it needs to feel like you're actually winning a good amount of money for the time that you're putting in, because you guys are playing for all year.
What did it
Actually,
increase to?
a lot of players are even now. For example, Tailbot or
Yeah,
Camps.
and speaking of that, like, what do you like? Do you feel like is that the reason why a lot of players are leaving too? Is because the money's getting lower?
Yeah, because you just play 2 months of Gwent, you win the qualification, and you lose 0-3, for example, in the quarterfinals and get less than $1,000. And that's just not fair at all.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, I would feel like that would make me like not want to play. Is like, okay, I put in a whole year's worth of work and only got like 2 grand.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm exaggerating, but that's what it would
Yeah.
feel like.
I mean, you went back to your point saying like, you actually left university to concentrate on this full time. And, it does take a lot of work and grinding and hours and time for you to get to the level that you are at. I mean, you mentioned that you don't, jam as many games as other players. So I'm just even thinking about those players that put so much time into it. So it makes sense that, if you are going to play in tournaments, you're like, okay, I would like to be, I guess, kind of, if I win, I'd like to be compensated for all the time and effort, that I've put into this. So I'm not surprised to hear that players are leaving for that matter, because, for some people they love the game, but at the same time it's like, well, we kind of need money because money makes the world go round, kind of thing. It's what puts a roof over our heads and puts food on the table. So I totally understand that. But are we allowed to ask, what's the future looking like for you? So you just competed in the latest World Masters. Are you going to be competing next year? What's it looking like for you next year?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied with losing 0-3 in the finals. I want to win this tournament.
You're going to win the World Masters next year.
Yeah, sure.
Go
Because
Team Legacy.
a lot of people are leaving, so the level of competition is getting low. So it will be kind of easy for me to get Masters and Opens.
I guess you would be considered.
I'm very optimistic about my chance.
All right, so that means now I have to compete. Just so that when I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll try. No, I'm kidding. No, but I think.
Speaking of, I don't know if I told you guys this, and I think I told him. I bet against you in the Masters, but only because I used a randomizer. Like I never picked my matches personally, and even though like I had you losing in stage 2 and like Akela going to the finals, I just thought it was funny because like everybody's like, "Oh, you're hating against your own team." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I didn't pick these scores," and I don't know. I just think it's funny. Like I made a whole fiasco about it because like I almost actually predicted the entire Masters like perfectly. I was literally off by like 1 or 2 games, and it was just you and Akela swapping. With Cybers, and I was just like, damn, I almost had it.
I think.
And I even got like 400 powder from CDPR like for that divination thing. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's cool.
I got
I
one
only
That was
right.
funny.
100.
I got 100
Yeah.
as well. And you know who it was? I actually predicted Lord Triss to win the quarterfinal 3-0, and I think that's what happened. So that's what I got.
I predicted my game against.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you allowed to predict your own game on the divination?
That'd be pretty funny.
That's hilarious. That's like, oh, that's almost like a little bit win trading just to win like the border. Like you could be like fixing the score so you're like, I can get 100 meter right. But that's insane. I mean, next year, they, as you mentioned, you said they're increasing the price pool, so that makes it a little bit more attractive. But that also could mean that we might see some, as you said, there's some, you know, veterans that are leaving the game, so that might mean that we might see more new players, right? I mean, you'll probably want to, if, you know, next year, if there are a lot of the longer term players are leaving, you'd probably be one of the more experienced ones, I would say. So, but we might see like a new generation. So that'll be really exciting to see who would, you know, be at the top next year. But yeah. But yeah, so, you know, for our viewers that might be watching this, who aspire to be competitive within the Gwent scene, what would be your top 3 tips for someone that wants to be, you know, wants to play in a qualifiers or an open or something like that?
First of all, you should stop playing ladder when you start to tilt. You just need to stop immediately and don't touch the game.
I
Because
like that
when you
tip.
tilt it, you just play really fast. You don't see your misplays. You blame the game. You blame your draws and not your gameplay. It's doesn't help you to climb on ladder. Also, you just need to play with decks you are comfortable with. For example, if you just don't like the meta decks and you don't understand how to play them, you need to create something that is clear for you, how to pilot it, how to manage with your resources. And what else?
I mean, those are 2 really good tips, because I feel like, you know, the first tip that you made about the tilting, because I do the exact same thing as you said. Like, the minute I start losing game after game, I start blaming the draws. I start playing too quickly. You know, I'm just jamming the cards, hoping to get my next win. And I should have stopped like 5 games ago, you know?
Yeah.
And I definitely like that tip. So next time I'm, you know, feel like I'm tilting, I'm just going to be like, no, I'm not going to touch the game for like a good day or 2. And, you know, number 2 is a good tip as well, because I think a lot of players out there, especially the ones that are maybe a little bit inexperienced, or, you know, really aspire to be like, you know, they look up to their streamers that play competitively, or maybe even you, and they look at the deck list and they're like, I need to play this because this is what's good, you know, like, even though they might not, because a lot of the decks that, you know, the other players might play, they're actually quite complicated, you know, like it can be hard to pilot certain decks. And so I think I like that point that you made, that, you know, if you play something you're comfortable with, it's just better, it's a better experience all around. But I think those are some really good tips. What do you think, Ezra's?
No, yeah, I agree. You know, I feel like a lot of the players who you know, strive to be at the top, um, and they have to put in the work. I would really like to see like a lot, like how it's all done behind the scenes. Like, you know, imagine like being able to have like um I don't know, like a collaboration, I guess, or like, you know, some kind of montage of like all the players playing, you know, preparing for, you know, for the big tournaments and stuff.
Oh, like before the Masters, like showing a little like behind the scenes. I think that would be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, just you know, because like we need something like for the crowd, like to see
Yeah,
like what goes on
I
behind the
think,
scenes.
yeah, definitely. I think that's why, you know, we wanted to talk to you today, because I think a lot of people will be wondering, you know, because, you know, you stream, but, you know, you don't stream like every day like some other players do. And so, like, they, you know, people get an idea of, oh, okay, this is how people play. And like, but when it comes to like the higher level Gwent players, it's all a bit like, what do they do? What are they playing? How do they prepare? And I think, you know, we just wanted to kind of uncover that to show, like, you know, what is involved in, you know, getting to the top. But we have one final question for you. We wanted to know, What are your favorite cards to have in a deck, and what is your favorite deck of all time up to the most current patch? I think you mentioned Northern Realms Witches. But yeah, what are your favorite, let's say, 3 cards that you've played over the years and your favorite deck?
It will be hard to explain you my favorite deck because you probably didn't see it. It's a mid-range NR deck that had One-Eyed Betsy. It had Visigert.
I think I
Also
remember this. It was basically like a lot
Thunder
of
Poison, Thunderbolt
yeah.
Poison. It was very strange and it wasn't looking good in the deck builder, but it was actually good. And Playable brought it tournament in Italy and won it. So yeah, it was the it was my most favorite deck of all time, I think.
Here,
And
One-Eyed Betsy. It's the meta. Now
yeah.
we have to go make this deck again. Bring it back.
And what was the other question?
Oh yeah, just your, let's say, your top 3 favorite cards ever in Gwent and why.
Oh, mm, it's probably only NR cards because it's my faction. I would call Lyrian Scytheman
Yeah.
before the nerf because it had crazy ceiling. It could play for 20 points.
Power of the farmer.
Uh, and also it has very good art. I really enjoy it. Also, I would call for the sprite its old ability when it had 4 power and 1 charge, I think. It was damaging all the units that have the same amount of power by 1. So if you had like full board of 2 points, 2 power units, you just damage all of them by 1. And when you just stack like 8 charges on this first sprite, you could just destroy every board pretty much. And
Okay.
also, I would call old Hubert Drake ability when it was boosting up by the amount of damage you made in your turn. So you just click all your order cards that do damage, like Alquist, Lyrian Arbalist, Saskia that has 5 charges. It does 1 damage for 1 charge. And it just boosts by like 30 points or 50 points.
Well, yeah.
And it's crazy finisher.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I was around when these abilities were around because definitely Hubert doesn't do that anymore. Forces Pride doesn't do that anymore. But sounds like Anna used to sound really crazy good. So I'm a bit bummed that I missed the golden days of Northern Realms. But I feel like
This
Northern
card
Realms.
weren't actually good because they were too greedy and they were working like 1 game out of 10. It was just losing every game.
Yeah, but when it worked, it was fun, right? Amazing. Did you have any final thoughts or questions for Iluha before we wrap up Ezra's?
Actually, I just because we didn't get to ask this yet. So what is life like in Russia right now? Like, what is your day-to-day life like?
What's my day-to-day life? I
Yeah.
just wake up, eat something, play Dead by Daylight with my girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
We really like this game. We just play like 5 hours or 4 hours of this game. Then we go for a walk sometimes, and
Okay.
sometimes I play Gwent.
Sometimes.
Not very
Sometimes.
often because it's not competitive season, so I'm not really
Yeah.
interested in playing Gwent right now. I'm just having a rest. And at the end of the day, I watch something, some films,
Have
Or,
you watched the show? The season 2 yet or no? The Witcher?
I started watching it yesterday.
What
Oh,
episode are you
okay.
I
up to?
saw only two first series.
Oh, so you haven't watched the first season yet?
No, I saw the first season, but
Oh, okay.
I saw two series of this one.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
nice.
got you. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I just finished it before we jumped on the Discord today, so I'm not gonna
I'm on
spoil.
episodes. Yeah.
I'm
I'm on
not.
episode 7, so
Yeah, I
it's
was.
it's on the background right now.
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
it's. I liked it, but I could say is that it's not gonna be what you expect. That's all I can say about it. Well, I hope you enjoy The Witcher because yeah, I thought it was good. So, yeah, I won't spoil it for you guys, but yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being on Halo Beyond the Continent today. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.